The hotel lobby was in chaos. A dignified Japanese woman dressed in an elegant kimono stood in the middle, frustrated, tired, and unheard. None of the elite hotel staff could understand her pleas. Guests murmured. Managers panicked. And then a quiet maid in the corner, invisible to most, stepped forward and softly spoke. "Simon, nanny goat no dezuka." Everyone froze. If this story moved you, don't forget like, comment, share, subscribe our channel for more real-life, inspired emotional stories. Naomi had worked at the Grand Oak Regency Hotel for over 3 years. A tall, graceful black woman in her early 30s. She moved through the halls like a shadow, seen but ignored. She cleaned the floors, scrubbed toilets, and tidied luxurious rooms, all while humming soft lullabies to herself. But Naomi wasn't always a maid. Once she had dreams of becoming a linguist. She grew up fascinated with languages, even attending a university on scholarship. But life had other plans. Her mother fell ill. Bills piled up, and Naomi had to leave her studies behind. The only job she could find was housekeeping. She kept to herself. She listened more than she spoke. Guests barely glanced at her. Even hotel management only knew her as room service of 47. But Naomi never let bitterness win. She worked hard. She smiled when no one else did. And in quiet moments, she'd still practice the languages she loved: French, Korean, Arabic, and Japanese. She never expected that passion to matter again. It started on a Monday morning. The hotel buzzed with whispers of a VIP international guest arriving from Tokyo. Staff were told to be perfect, smiles, wide, uniforms, crisp, protocols memorized. Everyone wanted to impress the millionaire businesswoman said to be scouting hotels for a global investment. At 11:20 a.m., she arrived. Madamio Takahashi dressed in traditional Japanese attire, elegant but clearly distressed. She tried to communicate something urgent at the front desk, but the receptionist looked puzzled. "Ma'am, do you have a reservation?" Madamio pointed toward her phone, said something in Japanese. The receptionist, now embarrassed, stammered. "I don't understand. Do you want to check in?" Minutes passed, then 20, then 40. Other guests began watching. Hotel managers rushed over. Translation apps were tried and failed. The Japanese woman grew more and more agitated, clutching a photograph in her hand. She wasn't angry. She was desperate. And then, from a corner near the staff elevator, Naomi stopped mopping and took a few hesitant steps forward. "Sumimasen," she said gently, bowing slightly. "Watashi watetsu de shoka." Gossips echoed. The room froze. Everyone turned to stare at Naomi. Madame Ako's eyes filled with tears. She clutched Naomi's hands and began speaking rapidly in fluent, respectful Japanese. Naomi listened carefully, occasionally nodding and responding. The conversation lasted nearly 15 minutes. Then Naomi turned to the stunned hotel staff and explained. "She's not here for a stay," Naomi said softly. "She's looking for her daughter." The room gasped again. Years ago, Madame Ako had been forced to give up a baby girl born during a forbidden relationship with an American man. She had recently learned that the child may have grown up in this very city and had once worked in a hotel under a different name. Aiko's only clue was a faded photograph in a journal page that mentioned the Grand Oak Regency. As Naomi translated all of this, the manager's face turned pale. "Wait, you're saying she's here to find her daughter?" "Yes." Naomi nodded, and she believes her daughter still works here. Ako took out the photo. Naomi stared at it, then gasped. It was a photo of a young girl wearing her own childhood necklace. Naomi's hands trembled. She whispered, This is me." The room stood silent. Even the head manager, who had scolded Naomi last week for taking too long on a bathroom floor, was speechless. Madame Eiko cuped Naomi's face, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "Anatoma, are you my daughter?" Naomi nodded, overcome with emotion. What followed was not some picture-perfect reunion. There were tears. There were long pauses. Naomi had 1,000 questions. Why now? Why leave her? Why this long? Eiko explained everything. Her family in Japan had forbidden the relationship. She was forced to leave the baby with distant relatives, who then placed her in foster care. She had tried to find Naomi over the years, but was misalled many times. Naomi, who had grown up feeling abandoned and unloved, realized for the first time that her mother had never stopped searching. And now fate had brought them together, not through luxury or status, but through language and love. The hotel's entire staff was shaken. Suddenly, the woman they overlooked, the maid they barely knew by name, had become the centerpiece of a miraculous reunion. News spread. A guest recorded the tearful moment and uploaded it online. Black Maid speaks fluent Japanese. Finds her long, lost mother in hotel lobby trended globally. Guests approached Naomi with admiration and apologies. The general manager read, faced with shame, offered Naomi a position in guest relations than a promotion, but Naomi politely declined. "I don't want to rise just because I was overlooked. I want to rise because I've earned it." A Madame Eiko, now staying at the hotel in a presidential suite, invited Naomi to Tokyo. She promised to fund her return to university and support her dream of becoming a global interpreter. But before leaving, Naomi had one final request. "Let me finish my shift today. I started this morning as a maid. I'd like to end the day as one." She picked up her mop, just as she always had, but now with a spark in her heart that had long been missing. 2 months later, Naomi boarded a plane to Tokyo, her eyes set on the future. Eiko waited for her at the arrival gate, holding both a bouquet and a framed certificate. "For the daughter I never stopped loving." In Japan, Naomi returned to university, mastering languages across cultures. She gave interviews, spoke at women's conferences, and became an advocate for forgotten workers and children in the foster system. Her story became more than a viral clip. It became a movement reminding the world that status doesn't define intelligence, and that sometimes the most invisible people carry the most powerful gifts. As Naomi once told a packed auditorium, sometimes it takes speaking someone's language to understand their heart, but it always takes listening to recognize their worth. So the next time you walk through a hotel and you pass a maid with a mop in her hand and dreams in her eyes, don't just walk by, because you might be walking past someone who speaks 6 languages and holds a story the world needs to hear.